Hello, so in this makeup video, I'll be showing you how to achieve this makeup look. This clip is actually from my online makeup class. If you'd like to join my 3-day intensive online makeup masterclass, please read the description or comment below for more details. I hope you enjoy. Let's get right started. Hello, so this is class 3. This makeup look was inspired by Louis Doll's House. This is a makeup artist, I believe, out of California, and he did a makeup look on Amaya Colon. So this is the look we'll be recreating. So as usual, I'm going to tell you, always have your brows waxed, groomed, threaded, plucked before you begin. It's going to make the makeup process easier for you, and it's going to make your makeup look more polished. And as usual, you want to watch, and then after watching once, you can go back and practice with your model or on yourself. So let's get right into it. So in case you already did your skin prep, and the eyebrow area is oily, you just want to wipe it down with a paper towel. Next, I'm going in with my favorite brow sculpt gel from Refy, and I'm just gonna use this to brush up the brows at the front and around in the direction that the eyebrow hairs are growing. And the reason why I'm doing this is because you always want to groom the eyebrow hairs, comb them out so that you see exactly where you need to fill in, because the brow technique we're doing is we're only filling in where we need to. We don't want to overfill the brows, and this will help you to see exactly where you need to fill in only. Anyway, so when we're done brushing it through, we want to press down the eyebrows to set it into place. Alright, so now we are going to define the shape of the brows, and we're going to go in by applying a concealer that is close to your model's skin tone above the eyebrows. I love this technique. At first, actually, I didn't care for it, but it grew on me because it's basically giving you a guide. Okay, so it's like you're outlining above and below your eyebrows with concealer, and then you already see exactly where you need to fill in the center, and it just makes the brows pop more. It makes them look more prominent on the face, more striking, and it's just really beautiful. It gives a real sculpted look. So that's why we're doing this. So now I'm going beneath the brows with a concealer that is about 1 shade lighter, okay, because we want to like pop the brow bone a bit. We want to highlight the brow bone, so this is why we're using something a tad bit lighter. Also, these concealers are from KKAÖbyKKB. They are the Skin Essential Concealers, and I will tell you the shades I use in the product list. So the technique here is to saturate your brush in concealer, the back and the front of the brush, of your concealer brush. Then you want to wipe away the excess product off the brush. Okay, now after you do that, you want to hold your brush flat below the eyebrow, and you want to take your time and glide it, holding the brush flat. Okay, so when you do this now, you're gonna have more control by holding the brush flat on the side, and also you can go in tiny strokes, so you don't have to make a straight line at once. If you cannot manage that, just go in little strokes, so a little, and then you draw your line a little more and a little more until you get to the tail of the brow. Okay, so next we are going to blend out the concealer. So we're just going in between the brows, we're going underneath the eyebrows and blending it out well onto the eyelid, and then we go above the eyebrows and blend out the concealer above the brows. Disclaimer, if you are really light with the concealer under the brows, please wipe out excess product out your brush, or use a different brush to blend the top, because you don't want the top of the eyebrow to be looking very light. Okay, all right, now so we're gonna go in with some eyeshadow primer, and I'm using the PLouise eyeshadow base to do this. However, you can literally use a really light concealer to do this. You don't need an eyeshadow primer to do this. So I'm just spreading the eyeshadow primer all over the eyelid, even getting it close to the brow bone as well to pop that color even some more. Okay, if you're really dark skinned, you don't want to use a super light color. You want to use something a bit more beigeish, you understand? If you're lighter, you can use something that's closer to white, but the darker you get, you want it to be more beigeish, like a very light brown, so it doesn't look too unnatural on the eyelids. So now I'm just going in and setting the eyeshadow primer, because as I said in my videos before, if you work on top of a wet eyeshadow primer or concealer, the eyeshadows won't blend well, they will be blotchy. Okay, so you just want to set down, you want to matte down the eyelids properly before you start. And I'm using these very sheer powders from the KKAÖbyKKB Artist Essential Powder Palette to do this, because we don't want to put too much color on the eyelids. Okay, so now we can start our eyeshadow. So I'm swirling my brush into this brown color in the Artist Essential Powder palette, and I'm just creating circular motions, building up a product on the brush and creating circular motions in the crease of the eye. This palette that I'm using is sheer to medium coverage. It's not really an eyeshadow palette, so I'm going to have to build it up a lot to get some color, but that's fine. So now for more precision, we're going for a smaller eyeshadow blending brush, because we want the color to show more and want more precision in the crease. So now I'm just going back, getting more product, and I'm just doing tiny circular motions and windshield wiper motions left to right in the crease. Okay, so this is how we're building up the color. Very important here, you want to be very gentle with your brush. It should be sweeping against the skin, like as light as a feather. You should not be pressing too hard. If you press too hard, the color will look too harsh. You'll have harsh lines. It won't be a nice, diffuse, soft looking color like this. Next, I'm just gonna switch to my bigger, fluffy eyeshadow blending brush just to diffuse out that color some more. Make sure that there are no harsh lines in the edge of my blend. Now I'm going to be applying a matte, very light beige. It's very light beige. That's actually white. And I'm patting it onto the eyelid. You want to pat it because sometimes if you drag a matte color on, the color doesn't come out looking as pigmented. So you always want to pat matte colors. So I'm just patting it all over the eyelid, making sure it gets close to the crease color, touching it a bit. Now, to mesh those two colors together, the crease color and the lid color, I'm just going back in the same color I used in the crease, and I'm just blending it back and forth by the end of the eyelid. And we're just blending it slightly into the end of the eyelid color until we have a nice, soft, smooth transition there. Nothing crazy. Now I'm going to be creating a little wing using this Eyeshadow black eyeliner. And I like it because it's extremely thin, so if you have a very small eyelid area, it's like really good for this purpose. So now to create my wing, I'm putting some tape by the end of her eye, and I'm just pulling back a line from the edge of the crease onto the eyelid. And this is how I'm creating my crease. And once I've finished creating the wing region, then I'm going to have her close her eyes, and I'm just going to use the lash line as a ruler, press against it, and create tiny strokes from the front of the eye line straight to connect back to the wing liner that I've created. Okay, so now I'm going to be using half of a lash that I got on Amazon. It actually comes like this as half a lash, and I get lash glue on the top of the lash strip as usual, and I'm using both my hands to hold the front and the back of the lash piece. And once the lash is tacky, I'm just attaching it to the lash line while the model is closing her eyes or looking down. And once I have it on the lash line, then I can go and align it how I want it. And after it's aligned properly, I'm going to press down on it to secure it into place. As always, I love to start makeup on a clean face, and I'm just going in with this Embryolisse moisturizer. It acts as a makeup primer as well as a moisturizer. It's very good. If you find that your model has dry skin, you can use a serum before you go in with moisturizer, and make sure that you work the moisturizer into the face very well before you move on. The next thing I'm doing is using powder and patting it onto her T-zone because she gets a tad bit oily in her T-zone. So this is just going to help to retain her makeup, to not make it get so oily over time. And the next thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be spraying makeup setting spray over this, guys. This is skin prep for sweat proof makeup. Next thing I'm going to be doing is just drying it into place. After this, I'm going in with some NYX primer. This is the e.l.f. Power Grip Primer, and I'm just patting it onto the face. This primer has to be patted onto the face, and once it's patted in nicely, you want to make sure that you dry it for at least 30 seconds with a fan. This skin prep is going to help you with the makeup that sweats a lot. This makeup will be very much sweat proof using this skin prep technique. So for this makeup look, I would say this is very much a very glam photo shoot type of glam, very over the top. I'm giving her a bronze Barbie look, so I'm going to be using a foundation that is darker than her skin tone, and I'm applying it not only on her face but all over her chest. Okay, we're giving JLo vibes applying a darker foundation all over the face and chest. because as I said, we want to bronzer up a bit. So I just sweep the foundation all over using a foundation brush, and now I'm patting it in. I'm buffing the makeup onto her skin to give a very much airbrushed full coverage look. So patting your foundation into your skin like this with this particular brush that has synthetic bristles is going to make your makeup very much full coverage and airbrushed, very much giving photo shoot glam. It's going to be flawless for the cameras, as you'll see in the end. So yeah, so let's go ahead and blend. All right, so I don't know if you noticed, for the chest I'm using a different brush. I'm using a fluffy brush and the technique is different. I'm sweeping the foundation around her chest in circles and moving my brush back and forth. Now the reason why I'm using a fluffy bigger brush for the chest is because I don't want so much of a full coverage look on her chest. When you move your brush around, your foundation brush around, and it's a bigger fluffier brush, you will get a lighter coverage. But when you have a more dense brush like the one I'm using on her face and I'm patting it in, it's going to give a more full coverage look. So that's just a little makeup technique there that we're doing. Well, this is very important information. I do not use full coverage foundations. I use medium coverage foundations, and then I can build it up a bit. I don't like when foundations look too heavy. This is why I don't use full coverage foundations. All right, so my model here has a bit of dark circles, so I'm using a color correcting concealer. This is basically a concealer, but it has a pinkish tone to it, and this pinkish tone will help to cancel out the darkness under her eyes. It's basically color theory. When you use something that has a bit of red or like red mixed with white, which would be pinkish, it literally cancels out darkness, so your under eye won't look super white. If you're just going with a really light concealer, it actually just correct the issue. So this is what I'm doing now. So I'm just patting it under her eyes real nicely for coverage. So that concealer I just used is from KKAÖ Beauty. It's the Skin Essential Concealer. And now I'm going in with contour, and I'm using a concealer as well from KKAÖ Beauty for this purpose. And I'm warming up the concealer on the back of my hand first, because I don't want to go in and get like a heavy swash of color, right? So when you warm up the product on your hand first, it's gonna give you a real nice, natural, soft effect. So it will blend in the skin much easier and look way more natural. So that's what I'm doing. So now in terms of placement, I'm placing the contour on the highest point of the cheekbone. Do you see that? I'm actually placing it on the actual cheekbone, not below. You want to always apply your contour to the cheekbone to give a lifted feminine effect. And now I'm going to the sides of the forehead. That's called the temples. I love putting contour there as well. It gives a nice feminine snatch to the forehead. Alright, so now I'm going in with that same foundation brush. I wipe away the excess foundation that was on the brush, and I am patting against the edges of the contour. As you can see, there's not much edges to blend because of the technique that I use, buffing out the concealer on my hand first. But always, you should always go by the edges of the concealer and make sure that they're blended out nicely by patting against them. When you're done blending out the edges of your contour, it should look something like this. Look at that, that's so gorgeous. You see, it's like a seamless transition from the contour into the highlights. That's how I want it to look. Okay, so I'm repeating the same thing on the other side, going in, patting the concealer as bronzer, and then I'm patting against the edges just to diffuse the edges out to get a beautiful transition. Now I'm going to be doing a tad bit of nose bronzing. So I'm just getting some bronzer on the tip of the nose and on the sides of the nose bridge, just by patting whatever is on that brush there. Now I'm going to go in with concealer for highlighting, and this concealer is about 2 shades lighter than her skin tone. So we just want to get it in the position of under the eyes, like in a triangular shape, and by the ends of the eyes. Alright, so now I'm applying concealer under the other eye in the same way. Once again, please do not let your concealer pass your under eye area. I'm going to show you where you should not be passing. When you bring your under eye concealer too low, it widens the face and it doesn't look very flattering. So now I'm getting some of this concealer by the chin, down the bridge of the nose, and a little in the center of the forehead in the shape of a semicircle. Now we're moving on to blending out the concealer under the eyes. Now this brush is from Clean Color, the brush set that I tagged in the recommended product list. And it's so good for blending out under eye concealer. It's amazing. So I'm patting on the side of the brush, and you guys know my technique. We'll blend out the edges first. So I'm just blending out the edge there, right by the end of the concealer, the side that's getting closer to the contour. And then once I blend out that edge closest to the contour, then I can move to focusing on the edge beside the side of the nose by the by the nose contour. So I'm repeating the same thing on the other side of the face. I'm going right on the edge of the contour line, and this time I'm going down the side of the nose, that edge there, and then I go by the edge, by the end of the under eye concealer, going up to the side of the eye. So you'll see me doing it here, making sure that edge is nice and blended. You see the transition coming out so seamlessly, beautifully. Also guys, here's a tip. You want to wait a couple seconds after you apply the concealer, because when the concealer dries down a little toops, okay, not dry down all the way. You don't want it to dry down all the way, okay? Once it dries down a little bit, it's gonna give more coverage, and it's gonna give this airbrushed celebrity glam look that we're going for. So now I'm blending out the edge on the forehead, the edge closest to the forehead contour, and then we can go right in the center of the concealer in the middle of the forehead. Remember guys, after you blend out the edges in an area, then you can go in the center and pat it in nicely to smooth it out. Then I'm going to the chin after this. Remember, doesn't matter, always blend out the edge, like the edges first, and then when you blend out the edges, then you can go in the center. Okay, so don't follow what I'm doing there. Always blend out the edges first, then the center. Thank you very much. Now I'm just making sure everything is blended nicely, going back over my lines, over my edges. And then here's a little trick. Whatever leftover concealer you have on your brush, you can just line it up right underneath the cheekbone and pat it there to give the cheekbones a nice little snatch. Isn't that so pretty and subtle at the same time? So just look at how I'm doing it. Amazing. Yeah, skin is giving. So if you have been following the sequence of the online makeup classes, by now you should be a pro at blending. So as you can see, before moving on, I'm taking that same brush that had a bit of foundation on it, whatever is left over, the dried up foundation, and I'm just using it to help me pat out any harsh lines that may have been on the forehead. Guys, I don't want to see any harsh lines in you guys blending, please and thank you. Take your time and blend. Go back with whatever foundation brush you use and go over any harsh lines to help you. Don't go for a whole bunch of foundation on your brush. Just use whatever leftover foundation is on your brush, or you can get a little bit of foundation on your brush, a tad bit, right? Take off the excess with a napkin, and you can use it to help you to blend out the line, the edges of your blends if it's not looking as seamless as it should be. Okay guys, now it's time for the Barbie blush technique. Okay, so we're going in with liquid blush. This one is from KKAÖ Beauty. It's like a pink bubblegum, I think that's the name, and you get it on the highest point of the cheekbones, literally right beside the under eye, by the outer half of the eye, literally right beside it, because this is going to give a cute lifted blush effect. So modern, so cute. And then we're just using this brush here, this powder setting brush from Real Techniques to blend it out. Shein also has a dupe if you're low on cash, I got you. So I'm just patting against it to blend. And what I love about this blush is it's very sheer, it's buildable. It's not one of them blushes that once you put it on, it's like a big swatch of paint and it's hard to blend out. Okay, this one is really like sheer, like it's coming through your cheek type of vibe. So if you're having issues with liquid blush, because I don't know what one you're using, you can get some liquid blush off your brush. If you feel like it's not blending well, it's looking too heavy, wipe some off on a napkin off your brush, then you can go back in and pat again. Guys, that will help you to get a more soft, gorgeous Barbie look like what we're doing here. So another thing, you want to also make sure that you're blending out the edges of the blush closest to the under eye concealer. You don't want it to just be under eye concealer then going into this one blob of pink. No, everything has to be blended nicely. So please blend that little transition region between the two colors by going back and forth into the two. Okay, I don't know if I told you guys, this is so random, but I'm a sponge girly, not a brush girly. So I always find myself going back to grab my sponge, but I know most people prefer the brush. So I'm brightening the under eye, going for a concealer that is
3 to 4 shades lighter, honey. We're going for super bright. As I said, this is photo shoot, doll vibes. Okay, so I'm just going in with a way brighter concealer, and now I'm just taking my time and patting out the edges. Okay, so if you're a brush girl, use a brush. You know my technique, blend out the edges first and then you can pat in the center. And for the sponge that I'm using, I damp my sponge. I love a damp sponge, so I run it under water until it's completely wet, and then I squeeze out all the excess water, and then I go in and use it to blend. Okay, so here's the deal. If there's any water dripping out of your sponge, it's not going to blend well, and if it's too dry, it's going to soak up too much product. So make sure you wet it the correct way if you're going to use your sponge. And yeah, guys, blend out edges first, edges beside the contour, edges by the side of the nose, and then you can pat in the center to flatten out your color. I think I love a beauty blender sponge because it just really helps to push the product into the skin more and take off any excess so it doesn't come out looking too unnatural. I think what people like about my makeup is that in real life it's beautiful. This is what people tell me, right? It's beautiful, it's soft, it's like striking. It's striking enough for you to be like, oh my god, I love your makeup, but it's also still like natural. So your boyfriend or your partner will be like, I like this makeup artist, I like this makeup, you know what I mean? So I think the sponges really help to push the product into the skin. I feel like sometimes when people wear makeup, I don't know, it just looks a bit heavy, and I think could be the brushes, because remember the sponge is soaking up a bit of the excess product and just making it the right amount. So I don't know, honeys, try sponge if you like. If you don't like it, use your brush. Okay, so I don't know, let me know if I'm wrong, but I think by the time you get to this class, you should now be way better with your blending, and you should have picked up some techniques that will help you to improve your makeup. But also I would say that this class is more advanced. Okay, so I'm going to be showing you an advanced technique, and it's something that I do. It's my little technique. So now you guys know you should always be looking up, have the client look up before you set with powder, and you should also make sure that you get rid of any fine lines that may be already showing through your makeup under the eyes. You just want to pat it out well with a brush or a sponge before you continue, before you set, right? So this is my technique. This is my original baking technique. So I get a lot of powder on my sponge, right? Like I'm baking, and then I just take it and place it under the eyes. I don't press it in, I don't press the powder in. I just place it under the eyes and bake on the eye. I get some on the nose, the forehead, and the chin. Now remember, don't press in, because if you press in it will look dry. Then I brush away the excess powder from the edges, because I don't want there to be a harsh line by the edges of my bake, right? So I like to brush away the excess powder. This is going to give you the most striking, flawless look ever. The makeup is going to be long lasting, it's going to be sweat proof, it's going to be flawless on cameras. I love doing this. So it's like you're baking and setting at the same time. If you find this hard, that's fine. That's fine. I feel like the key here is to start with a very hydrated face. So make sure you moisturize your face well before you start. And don't do this if you have dry skin, obviously. If you have dry skin, you just want to use my setting technique before, where I just basically use a powder puff and just pat with a little bit of powder until the area is set, okay? But if you don't have super dry skin, you can try this technique. It's beautiful. All right, so now I'm just setting the foundation on her chest. So remember, we had added foundation all over her chest, and I'm just using literally like whatever is left over my brush. I'm just using it to set her forehead and which other places on her face that I didn't set before, because you guys must know by now that if you don't set all the areas of the face gently, you might have blotches, especially by your contour area. So you definitely want to set on your cheekbones, a tad bit on your cheekbones, before you go in with bronzer or any powders, because it will come out looking blotchy, okay? And I hope you guys understand what I meant by brush off the edges of the bake. Yeah, brush off the edges of the bake only. You leave the bake in the center so that you can get the baking effect, but without the harsh lines at the edge of the bake. Okay, so I'm just making sure that all the harsh lines are gone from the baking, and we just leave in the center of the bake. All right, now so we're gonna go in with bronzer. So I'm going to be using the K Beauty Artist Essential Powder Palette as a bronzer on her, and I'm using a big fluffy brush so that I can get a nice diffused bronzy look. Okay, so the bigger and the fluffier your brush, the more soft and blown out your blend is going to be. So I'm using this big fluffy brush and I'm patting just to make sure that the area is set nicely, because if I go ahead and go in and start dragging my product and the area is not set properly, you are going to have streaks, you're going to have harsh lines, and it's not going to look good. So you always want to start out by patting, and remember, always set the area properly with translucent powder before, okay, before you go in with bronzer. Now I'm just making sure to pat and set beneath her cheekbones properly, because now I'm going to bake under there a bit. So I'm just dragging a bit of the powder there gently against the skin. I'm not pressing, no, I'm just gently dragging it there. And now to enhance the shape of the eyes, I'm just getting some brown eyeshadow underneath her eyes by the outer edge. I would say like the end 3/4 of the eye, so not from the front, like 3/4 of the eye out. And yeah, that's what that looks like. Now I'm just brushing the bake off the forehead, because now I'm getting prepared to do the eyebrows. So earlier, remember, we had sculpted the eyebrows using concealer. We applied concealer above and below to really enhance the brow shape. So now I'm just gonna go in, we're doing natural sculpted brows, and I'm just filling in a tad bit with my brow pen. This is from NYX. I love this. This is Espresso. I go through them like it's crack. I have like 10 of them. They're really good. So I'm just creating brow strokes with the brow pen. I'm taking my time. If you're new to brow pens, please take your time, because it will just come out like a big blob of ink and you'll be like, oh my god, what is this? So you don't want to do this rushing if it's your first time. So I'm just looking where she has sparse areas where you literally see gaps in her brows, and I'm just filling them in, creating tiny strokes. Another tip if you're new to brow pens is you want to make gentle strokes. Don't press down too hard, because it will come out looking like a blob of ink. So don't press down too hard, take your time, don't do it when you're rushing. Nothing crazy. My brow technique nowadays is nothing crazy. It's just all about filling in where you need to at this point. Okay, so that's what that looks like, and I just keep building up until I get the result that I want, and I'm doing the same thing to the other eyebrow. Okay, so another tip when doing brows is to always brush through after you've filled in a bit, to soften up the product and to break up the product a bit so it looks more even and smooth. I'm not gonna lie to you, I looked back at the picture and it was very much giving 2016 brows, so I thickened up the brows a bit more with my brow pen to make it look like the inspo picture. So now I'm doing lips. And for the lips, I overlined. I'm not gonna lie to you, ever since I was a little girl, I've been obsessed with super big lips. So this is the reason why I'm overlining her lips like this, and I was trying to make it look like the model's lips. Don't judge me, guys. I went overboard, I'm not gonna lie. Even the model was like, Kristen, like, what is this? She didn't like it, but I thought it was cute. Anyways, don't do this, guys. Just overline the Cupid's bow. Yeah, I liked it. She was very much giving like a doll vibe. Like, come on, guys. So yeah, I'm just using some lip products from KKAÖ Beauty, so you guys know my lip technique. Seal the lips, overline Cupid's bow. You don't overline anywhere else, just Cupid's bow. Don't overline the sides like what I did. And then you go in the center with your lip gloss, and I will tag lip glosses below for you. I went in with a pink, then I'm going in with something shimmer on top of it. And these products are all from KKAÖ Beauty. The lip liner is from the Sexy Lip Liner Kit. It's coming out shortly. And these lip glosses are from KKAÖ Beauty as well. And as you can see, I'm just topping up the lip with this super shimmer gloss. It's so pretty. And so you know this inspo look, it's giving, it's serving to my soul, because you know I love a good blush look. So now I'm going in with the Barbie blush technique, and I'm applying this beautiful pink blush from the Barbie blush palette on the highest point of the cheekbone. Literally exactly, we're going to put it exactly on top of where we put our liquid blush, which is the highest point of the cheekbone, right beside the eye. And we just take our time and build up the product. Don't go in and grab a whole bunch of this blush all at once. Remember, good makeup is all about layering. So I'm just taking a tad bit and I'm gently sweeping it. You see how I keep going back for more? It's not because the product is not pigmented, it's very pigmented, but I take my time and build up the product so that we get a nice diffused soft look. Makeup is always easier and comes out looking better when you go with small portions and add up and keep adding and adding. And one of the keys to long-lasting makeup is makeup that is layered. So you see the way how I put a layer of foundation, a layer of color correcting concealer, a layer of highlighting concealer, a layer of brightening concealer for under the eyes, a layer of setting powder, and I'm baking a layer of, like, the makeup won't move, babe. Like, it just won't move. So that's the secret to long-lasting makeup. That looks scrumptious on the cameras. No filter needed. Okay, thank you. So by now you know that I love to mesh a good makeup look together. Okay, so now I'm using the same blush and I'm just bringing it on to the ends of the eye crease, because this is gonna mesh the eye makeup into the blush. Oh my god, beautiful. Like, this is literally how it's done. Okay, and as you can see, I'm also diffusing it into the under eye concealer right to the side of it. You see, everything has to be meshed together nicely. So now I'm just blending in the blush, making sure it's blended into the contour color nicely, into the bronzer color nicely. And now we're gonna reinforce the contour on the nose. We didn't really do much liquid contouring on the nose, so now I'm just using the Artist Essential powder palette and just sweeping down the sides of the nose and bringing the line up into the eye area to mesh that together. Please make sure you properly set the nose with translucent powder before you contour with powder, okay? So now I'm brushing away the bake under the cheekbones, and look at that. Look at how nicely it's coming out, okay? If you're having issues blending out your bake, you want to just grab some powder from your Artist Essential powder palette that kind of matches the skin and help you to brush away the powder well. But it should look like this. This is what your bake comes out looking like when you set your under your cheekbones properly. It will come off so easily, okay? All right, so now we're unbaking the forehead just by brushing that powder off gently, just flicking the powder off gently. Now I'm going in with a clean brush to unbake the under eye, and I unbake the under eye by patting and by sweeping gently. Guys, I already told you this. Always, when it comes down to the under eye, you have to use a clean brush, because if you use a brush that you're using around the face, it's going to darken up the under eye, and we want the under eye to stay bright. So that's why I use a clean brush. And you guys know, blush blindness is real. We're adding more blush because this look is very much, I think the blush is like the main part of this look, the inspo look that we're doing. So I'm just adding more blush to get that nice and pigmented, and I'm adding it back to the eye area just to mesh that in together nicely. Okay, so guys, I don't want the blush to look clownish, but you're doing a good amount of blush. Okay, the blush should 100% show. So this is the point where I'm going to spray setting spray all over the face, and this setting spray, I love it because it actually makes the makeup last all day, but it also takes away the powdery look. So it's like a 2-in-1. I love that. But say if your makeup is really like powdery and dry and you're like, oh my god, I messed up, use Morphe setting spray or Barbie setting spray or something, some hydrating type of spray, MAC Fix Plus spray. These are going to hydrate the makeup, soak up all the excess powders, and it will look like skin and beautiful, like how my makeup look. And now going in with some highlighter, and I'm just using this one from Benefit. I don't really know where my highlighter was at this point, so I grabbed this one. She had to go, so I was kind of rushing at the end. So, and I'm just getting some highlighter on the lips, because in the makeup look it looks like the lips are very shiny, so I'm just adding some highlighter to the lip to follow the inspo picture. And I'm going in with mascara on my falsies underneath, because sometimes underneath there just gets a bit powdery, so I'm just making it super black. And make sure to get some mascara on the tips of your lashes as well. It's gonna look so pretty. And of course we have to do mascara on the bottom lashes. She has really long bottom lashes, so I didn't do any lash maximizer today. We just went straight in with the mascara. All right, so yeah, you see the way she's looking up, that will be great, so that the mascara doesn't get on the skin. And please make sure that mascara is dry before you allow her to look down into her phone, because it will mess up the entire skin. And try to apply mascara after the setting spray so that it doesn't smudge, so that mascara doesn't smudge. And that brings us to the end of the look. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions, please leave them down below. Also, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment. Bye.